All right, away we go. Welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show. Larry Krueger here, joined tonight by Kev and Frank Red. Niners lose the preseason opener to the Broncos. 30-9 was the final. I'm here at Levi's. We just got out of the locker room, talked to CJ West, talked to Connor Colby, had a chance to talk to Chase Lucas, who I thought had a terrific game. Overall, I mean, it was not a great performance. I thought Mac Jones looked really good, but Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai, not so much. The 49er offense looked a little disjointed. Then I wanted to see a little bit more production out of the new receivers than I did. Didn't see that. And to me, if there was the biggest negative of the night was that second series where Nick Bonito just absolutely toyed with Spencer Burford. And I think the 49ers have a very big issue at tackle. I mean, they have Trent Williams, they have Colton McKivitz, but Austin Pleasance and, Isaiah Prince and Andre Dillard and Spencer Burford, I thought that was four pretty good candidates to compete for, one or two tackle spots. And I'm starting to think that they may have to, they should have signed DJ Humphries. I'm very concerned about two positions coming out of this game, the defensive tackle depth and the offensive tackles beyond the starters. But there were a lot of good things tonight that we can get into. What'd you guys think? What'd you guys think of the game?
Yeah, no, same thing here. Mac Jones, I thought, showed a lot of reasons why Kyle Shanahan likes Mac Jones. He plays within the offense. Kind of felt like that first drive. I mean, that was a crazy turn of events for the Niners. They were going against the number one team D on Denver and threw a touchdown, and then Denver's offense punted on the first drive. So everything was looking great there. And then the safety, and then the Niners did not look good after that offensively. I think they had 25 passing yards in the first half outside of that Jordan Watkins 50-yard touchdown. And if you look at the whole game, they had 107 yards passing. So outside of that 50-yard bomb that Jordan Watkins, they had 57 yards in the air. And yeah, you're right. You want to see more from the receivers. I thought, Watkins on that deep ball looked pretty good. I thought Demarcus Robinson on his sole catch in the very beginning of the game looked pretty good. But besides that, like Junior Bergen, I'm not really sure if he's a receiver here. I think he's more of a punt return specialist. But he did have one really nice punt return. So offensively, not a lot to like there, but defensively, Sebastian Valdez, Marquise Siegel, some young guys that really showed out.
What'd you think, Frank?
Well, leading up to the game, I was reading some of your tweets, so my antenna was up about the offensive line. I mean, you're at practice every day, so you kind of see these guys, and that's an obvious concern that I have. And teams are built to win with good offensive and defensive lines. So I'm sure you'll be able to monitor their progress, but they have to be strong there to look different this year from last year. A couple of things I saw that I liked is their intent to throw the ball to the tight end. Regardless of who the tight end is, their offense this year, because of the lack of experience on the outside, I think they need to incorporate more of the tight end. And Tongas had 2 catches. I think this is a kid from Cal. I think he was here last year, right?
Right.
Yes, you talked about him last year. I didn't remember him, but I was happy to see him being a target over the middle of the field, because with a weak offensive line, you're going to have to find a tight end. I have no questions about Kittle. Also, I like Corey Kiner. The one cut move up the field. I have no doubt that the 49ers will find a way to develop more running backs. And the guy who impressed me the most, because again he came out of nowhere, was Stone Blanton. He's not the biggest, strongest guy, but he reminds me of the great New York Giants linebacker Gary Reasons, who won a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
just the guy who gets on the field and makes plays. He's going to make some mistakes, but I love his aggressiveness. And from Salah's perspective, I think he's going to have a tough time keeping that guy off the field, because he's balls out all the time. I was pretty impressed with him.
Yeah, he had 5 tackles in the second half of this game. Blanton was flying around. It's interesting. I thought Nick Martin, is really going to hate watching this film, because, he was active, he flew around, but he overran plays and he made a number of mistakes, and he just missed tackles. I mean, he was active. He had 5 tackles. He had 2 solo. But if he had, played better, he could have had 8 or 9 tackles and 4 or 5 solo. He took some bad steps. He fell off some tackles. I thought it was a kind of a frustrating night watching Martin. He had a couple of plays that you're like, wow, look at that. But then overall, I would say he was disappointing because he just seemed like he played a step fast, not under control, didn't wrap up. And he looked like his head's spinning a little bit. I don't know if that's just because it's a new defense or what, but he flew around and was active, but he fell off too many tackles, and that's a concern.
He's definitely fast. He was getting there. He just wasn't making the tackles, and he wasn't breaking down. I feel like, I mean, you could say it's an excuse, but I feel like he just wasn't breaking down. His head, like you were saying, like his head wasn't in it the right way. I still feel like he has a chance, but the Niners putting that on tape in the preseason, like he's just not ready probably to be the starter. So I would say D Winters pretty much has that on lock moving forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's interesting because he clearly looks the part and he has all the characteristics, but he was too hyped up. He actually reminds me of Lee Woodall. That's who he reminds me of. A guy who instinctively can run sideline to sideline, and it's hard to push him off his stance. But he took a bad angle on Eskimi, the running back from Denver.
Yep, Eskimi,
He got beat to the end zone. So he needs to calm down, watch Fred Warner, and just understand that they believe in him, because I think he's still like trying to show that he can be that guy. And as a result, he's making these mistakes that good fundamental linebackers don't make.
To me, there's really 3 things that I'm looking for in the preseason. And I talked about it a little bit in the pregame. I talked about it a little bit in a video that I did for the pregame, which is, I think offensively, you're looking for offensive cohesion. And then, you want to have, you want to see if your offense can get into a rhythm. And we didn't really see that. I thought Jones looked good. He was 4 of 7 for 74 yards. But then he had the 1 interception. I thought Bradley looked really raw and, just trying to throw it through everybody. He didn't see the field all that well. And then Mordecai had a fumble and an interception. And the quarterbacks just, didn't quite shine as far as, we didn't see the efficiency. So I would say, I wanted to see offensive rhythm. We really didn't see that. They got 9 points at home. The 49ers had 4 first downs in the first half. They were 1 for 10 on third down conversions going into the fourth quarter. So, we really didn't see that offensively. The second thing I think you see a lot in the preseason is you lose guys to injuries. And Nick Martin or Junior Bergen, or as far as injuries, Amir Abdullah had a rib injury. Marquis Siegel had a knee, but they don't say it. They say it's not serious. And Tatum Bethune had an ankle. I don't think it was serious either. And then the third thing is that you find some gems, and I kind of thought if you just backed away and looked at this game, there were some gems. I agree with Frank about Corey Kiner. I'm a Corey Kiner fan, and I don't think this was one of his better days, but I like the efficiency. There's not a lot of negative yardage runs. He had 10 carries for 45 yards. He had his long run was 10 yards. So he's kind of a workman-like guy. I thought he had a really nice performance. I thought Jordan Watkins flashed. He was targeted 6 times. He caught 3 balls for 56 yards. And then I thought some of those defensive players flashed. Canteen, Marcus Siegel, Tatum Bethune. Luter had some good and bad plays. I was glad to see him out there because I think it's a very important preseason for him. And you mentioned Stone Blanton. Valdez had a half a sack. Kalia Davis had a sack. So I thought there were, some potential gems that kind of popped out. There were some injuries, but nothing crushing, nothing long-term. And I wanted to see offensive rhythm, and I just didn't see much offensive rhythm. So I really, overall, I would say I'd give it about a C. Not a great performance, but it's not a D or an F because you did discover some good young football players, and you didn't lose anybody to any serious injury. And I thought Mac Jones looked pretty good, and he's showing the same rhythm, at least in these games, that he's shown in practice. So I think overall, it wasn't great, but I don't know. I mean, overall, if you had to give this a letter grade, guys, what would you give it?
I don't know if I can really grade a preseason game, like, because what even is a preseason game to grade? Like, I don't really know how to grade it. But what I will say is on the Kiner thing, that gets really interesting. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch throughout the preseason because of the injuries they have at running back. Like, Garendo's going to be out a few weeks. Jordan James has the broken finger or broken finger. He'll be out for some amount of time. The Taylor versus Kiner, where do they sit in the depth chart? I think Kiner is better than Taylor just after watching today. I mean, I know Kyle's going to like Patrick Taylor because he knows the offense, has experience, and that's going to play a lot into where he sits in the depth chart. But Kiner just looks a little bit more explosive. You always say he has the contact balance. He definitely has the contact balance, and he's
more durable.
He's a productive player. He seems like he's a productive player, and today I feel like he flashed. He flashed some good tape. He had 4.5 yards per carry and 45 yards on 10 carries. Like, I'll take that all day from Kiner.
I'll give him a C+ as well, because in the preseason, winning the game is probably third or fourth on my list of objectives. I want to see players. So I'm grading these players individually. I also want to see, are they playing with intensity? Because you can say that, this really matters, and then guys go out there and just kind of jog around. I saw guys flying on the football field in ways I didn't see last year. So I would give him a C+. Patrick Taylor, I saw him flash last year, so I know he's a talented back. Kiner, again, because of the coaching, the one cut and up the field type of running style, I think is infectious. So that was good. So if I look at this game from an individual perspective, I saw guys doing things that I know they can get better at. They didn't win, so I'm not going to give them a major grade. But I think that they were probably a little better than average if you look at it from an individual perspective. So I give them a C+.
It was kind of a weird game from the standpoint of I thought the Niners did a pretty decent job defensively against Bo Nix, and I thought they did an okay job at the end of the game against Ellinger, but they didn't do anything to stop Jarrett Stidham. I mean, Jarrett Stidham owns the Niners. He beat them, or he didn't beat them. I think it was Purdy beat Stidham in overtime a couple years ago when the Niners beat the Raiders in Vegas. But Jarrett Stidham tonight, 14 of 15 for 136 yards, 9.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 144 rating. I mean, my God. I mean, he also had 3 carries for 36 yards. He had an 18-yard run. I mean, Jarrett Stidham had himself a ball game. The Niners just did not defend Stidham at all. I mean, at all.
Are you sure that wasn't Don Strock out there?
Seriously.
How about the ball to Sherfield? The ball to Sherfield was perfectly placed on Dallas Flowers in the corner of the end zone, right where he couldn't catch it. I'm like, where's this Stidham? Where's this coming from? Like,
seriously,
that was
Stidham,
beautiful ball.
Stidham, I love Stidham at Auburn, and I've seen him play some pretty good ball. By the way, speaking of beautiful ball, how about the Mac Jones to Watkins ball? I mean, that was a flat dime, 50 yards down the field. Guys, Mac Jones looks very, very comfortable in this offense. I talked to him after the game. He was at the podium, and there's something about this guy. It's weird. It's like when I was looking at him from afar, watching him with the Patriots, watching him come out of Alabama, he seemed kind of country bumpkinish and kind of not like the smartest guy and kind of not very serious, not very mature. Now he comes here. Now, granted, things haven't gone well in his previous stops, but he seems totally focused, driven, dedicated, smart. The coaches say he's really smart. He seems to be very in control at the line of scrimmage. We just saw him have a practice against the same Bronco defense that, only give up 18 points a game last year, was third best in all of football. And he actually completed like 15 of 17 on Thursday in the practice against him, had a much better completion percentage than Purdy. And he came out tonight, and I mean, he has taken a stranglehold on that number 2 quarterback job. He looks terrific. I would imagine that the 49ers are going to have to resist the temptation. They have him on a 2-year contract. they're going to have to resist the temptation really between now and the trade deadline to not trade Mac Jones, because I mean, you have Purdy, you paid Purdy, Purdy's your guy. You're going to get some attractive offers from Mac Jones, especially if he continues to play like this in the preseason, or if he gets in and plays at all in the regular season and plays like this. I mean, he looks so good in this offense, and yet the line's in flux. The receivers are new. The top running backs are not on the field. It's a complicated system. I mean, how surprised are you guys at the level of play that Mac Jones has reached in a system like Matt Ryan was pretty just okay in the first year. He won the MVP in the second year.
I don't know if we can't be running victory laps on Mac Jones yet. I mean, it was one,
but I'm just saying,
one good drive.
No, but that's one good drive tonight. He was 15 of 17 against this defense Thursday in practice, the same defense that Brock Purdy was like 16 of 36 or something ridiculous. I mean, he's completing a higher percentage both in practice than Purdy. My point is just that a lot of quarterbacks look bad in this offense early. This guy not only doesn't look bad, this looks like it's hand to glove. Now, the question is, if somebody comes and offers you a second round pick in October for him, do you say, screw you, we're keeping him for another year, he's our guy, he's our backup? Or are you taking that good asset and moving down the road? I just get the feeling that the way he's playing and the way quarterbacks drop in this league, they're going to get some offers for him.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I don't see a world where they're trading Mac Jones when I just saw their two potential third string quarterbacks play. So
that's true.
I mean, Carter Bradley, I would love to buy the story that, I mean, I'm not saying this is a complete lie, but the story that was told, which was he came in here for a workout and he wowed him. He wowed him so much that he beat out Tanner Mordecai. Mordecai's cut, and now he's on the roster. That was not a great performance from Carter Bradley. I don't know, there's probably a reason he was a free agent, and I don't really see. I mean, it's tough though, because Tanner Mordecai came in and kind of did the same thing. I will say though, Tanner Mordecai moves much better. He's much
How about that one run from Mordecai where he showed good speed. He's got 4.4 speed.
They look very similar, and they both have the arm strength and the size. It's just, just nothing, literally nothing in the air. Just
they both lack touch.
Yeah,
there's no touch. Everything's a rocket. Everything's like on a line. Even like Mac Jones's deep ball has got this loft and it's majestic. He drops it in there. These guys throw everything on a line. It's a very difficult way to live in the NFL. You have to be able to layer the ball.
Bradley had Tongus in a wide open, and he couldn't layer. Like he underthrew the ball, and it's just they don't have touch yet. So that's going to be the thing that holds them back.
Jeff is asking, has Larry talked about Collins' bad performance yet? Collins? Oh, you're talking about Alfred Collins. He's got the apostrophe there coming. I mean, when you say bad performance, you're talking about a guy who's a huge defensive tackle who's going to play the run. What do you guys agree with this? I mean, Denver ran 34 times for 150 yards, 4.5 yards a carry. Did you guys feel like Collins was getting uprooted out of there?
Denver was running on the 49ers. So, I can't look at one guy. And to be quite honest, I didn't notice him out there. So I can't really assess whether or not he was really good or he was really bad. He really didn't on the field to me. I want to go back to Mac Jones for a second.
Yeah.
I've been watching Mac Jones since he was at Alabama. And he was there when Tua and Jalen Hurts were there. And so he's learned from, Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks. And the thing about Mac Jones that troubled him in the past was his confidence. He used to live with bad plays. Even when he was on New England, amidst of all of the chaos, every now and then he would have a really good football play. And I watched him last year on Jacksonville. And again, when they got blowed out and they put him in the game, he would make some pro caliber plays. So I just look at him as a guy who's a first round draft pick. This is year 4 or 5. The game is slowed down. and he understands that his career doesn't live and die with one play, but he's letting his talent speak now. So it wouldn't surprise me at some point he does not have his own football team once again. He's one of the best number 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. I think fundamentally you could put him in tomorrow and you can win football games with him.
I agree. It is amazing, though, watching it. I got to be honest, I did not see this coming. I mean, I really didn't. I was talking about, hey, Jones may play poorly. Mordecai knows the system. Mordecai could outplay Jones. But, man, Mac Jones has put that whole thing to rest.
Mm-hmm.
He has shown up. I'll say this, too. It's funny. I was talking to Todd Husek, the former Stanford quarterback. We sat next to each other in the press box during the game today. And I mentioned to him something I thought was kind of interesting. Mac Jones told us a couple weeks ago, guys, that in June, he basically put on his uniform and practiced in pads throwing the ball. And I asked Todd, who's a former quarterback, I said, Todd, I don't know too many quarterbacks who in the off season put on the full pads and uniform to throw. And he's like, I've never heard of a quarterback doing that. But that's what Mac Jones did. He got put on a uniform in the sweaty, hot sun of June and made himself run, basically all the plays until he committed them to memory. He's an interesting guy. It's like, I almost feel like he knows things didn't work in New England. He knows it going to Jacksonville, obviously it wasn't a whole lot better. And I think he's smart enough to know that you don't get endless chances in the NFL. And he seems like you would think by watching him that he believes that this is his last chance in the NFL. And I don't know if it is or isn't. I don't think it is, but it is interesting how, Shanahan and Purdy, Purdy's really good, and how he preps is something that Sam Darnold has been talking about. And Shanahan's offense is obviously very quarterback friendly. A lot of quarterbacks seem to thrive here, but it is interesting that Jones looks so good so fast, because it took Jimmy G a while. It took Purdy stepped in and looked pretty good, but Matt Ryan was okay the first year. He was the MVP of the league in year 2. The word is that it's a complicated offense that takes time to learn. I don't know about that, because Mac Jones sure has learned it pretty fast.
I mean, is this not the exact same situation that Sam Darnold was in 2023? I think that the parallels there are just it's just the same. It's the same situation. If I was Mac Jones, I'd come to the 49ers too. You're playing with Kyle Shanahan and this offense. You're going to look great, and you're probably going to fill in a few games when Brock Purdy gets dinged up inevitably in some point in the next 2 years, and then you're going to get a huge contract because you're going to look somewhat decent in this offense. I think that's like the blueprint that Sam Darnold followed, and that's what Mac Jones is doing here.
Welcome in, JD. JD, good to see you. And JD's been here at Levi's as well and is still here. And JD, I know you're just jumping in, but Frank and Kev and I have been discussing the game. And one of the things we were just talking about when you walked in is I can't believe how – it's not just about today. It's really more about what we saw at Thursday and then throughout this camp. I can't believe that Mac Jones has taken to this offense like a, hand to glove behind a line that, is maybe not the best line, a wide receiver core that is in flux. Christian's hurt, Guarendo's hurt, and yet Mac is out there. He's completing a high percentage. He's playing on time. He's playing with confidence. He had a beautiful deep ball to Watkins today. Are you surprised that Jones has looked? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm overstating it, but to me, are you surprised that he's looked as good as he has early on?
I'm not actually, because I think Kyle Shanahan, as we all know and has well been chronicled, believed that Mac Jones could be an NFL quarterback. Now, whether that's worthy of being selected number 3 overall going back to 2021, probably not. Ultimately, that's not what happened. The 49ers chose to go with somebody with more, athletic upside and potential and arm strength and tools and all of that in Trey Lance. And it didn't pan out, and they ended up with Brock Purdy, and it kind of saved them. But no, I'm not surprised. I think, Kyle has guys that he has the ability to identify that he believes have the intelligence and the skill set and the demeanor to fit in and fit in almost regardless of the talent that is put around them. I mean, I've kind of looked at Mac a lot and thought, if George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and eventually Brandon Ayuk and Demarcus Robinson and Juwan Jennings, like the guys that are supposed to be there, if eventually you got to a point where it was, say, the middle of the season and you were in a playoff race and you had to win a couple of games, I feel like Mac Jones could do that. And so that's really the scale that I'm grading it on. I mean, he is the backup quarterback. There's a reason he's a backup quarterback. But I feel, the Niners have been in different positions in different years where you go to the backup quarterback, it's a wrap. It's, and I don't feel like that's the case with Mac Jones. So, yeah, on a night where I think there are, some red flags, to be perfectly honest, about this roster and the depth of this roster, I think Mac Jones is the least of the problems.
Why don't we hit that for a second? Where do you see the red flags? I mean, for me, before you got in, I said the depth at defensive tackle is very concerning. Just the fact that Jordan Elliott has been the number one tackle in the drills makes me go, uh-oh. And then to me, the offensive tackle spot, I mean, Nick Bonito embarrassed Spencer Burford. I thought Burford looked like a guy who has no business playing offensive tackle. And I don't know if Pleasance is any better. And I think they might have blown their opportunity with DJ Humphries. I'm very concerned about that third tackle spot, which is not like just another position on the team. That third tackle can be kind of important. And I think Burford and Pleasance are guards. I think Dillard is a pass protector, not a great run blocker. I think Isaiah Prince is just an ordinary athlete. I'm kind of wondering if they have their backup tackle on the roster, or if they're going to have to find somebody or trade for something at the cut down. They're going to tell you they're fine with these guys until they're absolutely not. But I think the rude awakening for anybody is that Spencer Burford can't play tackle.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. I'll keep it short on that front. I mean, they're going to have to stay healthy up front. And even when they have their starting five, I think at times they're vulnerable, especially on the interior, and we've seen it be the case. But that's not the only position I would single out. I mean, Larry, you singled out defensive line. We all know the story right now at wide receiver. They're short right now at running back. I think
they signed Keyshawn Vaughn today.
Yeah, today. He signed today
and played
and played tonight. Like literally off the street, the email comes in at 2:00. You're on the team. Game's at 5:30. We'll, show up and we've got some touches for you.
Imagine being that guy today. Like, can you play today?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's go. Where do I sign? Give me my game check and I'll see you in a half an hour. I mean, that's really what you got.
You must have been in the area or something, because I mean,
yeah, clearly they had that one planned out, and he was probably staying over at the Santa Clara Hilton for the last couple of days.
He probably was an Amazon delivery person to one of the coaches' houses. And they're like,
hey, can you play running back? You look pretty fast.
Exactly.
So that's another area, and it kind of leads to my overarching theme of the night, and I was on the KMBR post game, and they just said, general thought. I just thought there was take the guys out of the equation for the 49ers who didn't play, the healthy inactives, right? The stars, the guys they've paid, the guys who have helped lead them to Super Bowls, the foundation of what this franchise is right now. You take those guys out of the equation. I just looked at the Denver Broncos and the 49ers and the guys who were on the field, and I just think there was a significant talent disparity between the two teams. Twos and twos and twos and threes and twos versus ones, and like we can do. It's not even about the specifics for me of who matched up with who. It was just, to me, I saw a lot more talent on the field on the Denver Broncos side than I did on the 49ers side. And that, to me, in the preseason leads to a depth concern, especially because you just take those guys out right off the top, the guys that you're really dependent on. And, really for the first time, it kind of made me think, well, I've taken kind of the positive approach with being open-minded to their 49ers offseason plan with all the draft picks and shuffling out veterans. And I think there's a lot of guys who have looked really good the first couple of weeks of camp. Like, I think all those things are true. But tonight and Thursday, Krug was out there in some real competition against some other dudes who are in the same positions, fighting for spots, fighting for roles, fighting for jobs. And I don't know. The Broncos were a playoff team a year ago, so I'm not trying to, discount that. But I saw talent disparity. I'll stop repeating myself and let you guys jump in.
Did you guys see that as well? Did you see a big talent disparity between the Broncos and the 49ers here? I mean, the Broncos defense last year gave up 18.3 a game. That was third best in football. The Niners, are pretty, they didn't play their best players on offense. And they really got overwhelmed, I thought, by Denver's defense throughout the week.
I mean, they scored 30 unanswered points, so I guess it's hard to kind of argue that. I'd say the linebacker play I didn't think was great, especially from Nick Barton. I mean, Stone Blanton had a nice punch out, but I felt like it was a little weaker there as the game went on. Offensively, for sure, the wide receiver room is just not deep. It's not deep at all. It's not really top heavy either. I mean, I guess with Ayuk in, but there's definitely concerns there. They were not moving the ball. The quarterbacks obviously play a big role in this. I don't think either of the quarterbacks, like we mentioned, really did anything to help the 49ers. So maybe that's adding a little bit into it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, look, this Broncos team is the young and upcoming team of this year. Like, this is the team that's coming right now that has all the young talent. So for the Niners not to be completely up to par yet with their talent, I don't think that's necessarily the world's ending,
John Feliciano is tweeting here, by the way. Feliciano is tweeted. Somebody said to him, "How can we unretire you? Looks like the O-line could use some help." He said, "Tell John to call me." John Feliciano, retired guard. They may want to call Feliciano. At least we know Feliciano can play. I mean, there's no question about that. I'm a little concerned about the 49ers on the line of scrimmage, to be completely honest.
I'm going to play this was called today on your question about the Benito, the 3 sequence with Benito. He didn't really blame Spencer Burford for this, but I'm going to play it because I thought it was interesting.
Benito had a series where he just kind of ruined the whole series. How do you feel about your backups at offensive tackle right now?
I mean, he did ruin that whole series. One was on our tight end going across the formation. He just played pass all the way, so that wasn't on a tackle. But it was 3 plays in a row. The next 2 plays, we went on the quick counter and lined up wrong, and so he was able to jump the snap. So I thought that was a little tough for Spence. And then on the 3rd down, we had a bust by a player who was supposed to be outside presence on him. Spence was expecting a chip, so he just sitting there inside out, and there was no guy there. So Benito's a hell of a player, so we knew that would be a challenge. But I thought those 3 plays in a row were a little unfair to Spence.
Yeah, it plays, when the guy opposite you lives in the backfield 3 plays in a row, it's easy to say, it's Burford. The first one, once again, you had Tongas coming across the formation. I mean, I just got to ask about the wisdom in the play call. You're going to have a receiving tight end who's very angular, not much of a blocker, and his job is to come across the formation and find Nick Benito?
It was Farrell, I think.
Was it Farrell?
Yeah, it was Farrell. It was Farrell.
He said,
I know we were talking about that in the box. It was we were talking about that up in the press box, and I meant to reach over to you and Todd Husak as well and clarify that.
You said it was Farrell?
It was Farrell.
It makes it a little bit better if it's Farrell because Farrell's a blocker, but still, I mean, you're going to try to block Benito with a tight end coming across the formation. This guy's one of the best edge pieces in the league. This is what Brock Purdy's got to look forward to is tight ends shooting across the formation to block Pro Bowl edge pieces. I mean, I thought that was questionable. And then it's a questionable ask. And then to see Burford the third time it's you watching that highlight that Kev just played, you can tell Burford thought he had inside and somebody else had the chip on the outside, and then they were gonna pinch him like that, and basically he hit him on the inside. He just funneled him right to the quarterback. So nonetheless, it does not change the fundamental reality, which is my eyes tell me that Burford's feet are not fast enough to play offensive tackle in the NFL. And, ask yourself this. There's lots of guys who play tackle, and then, you know what? Their career evolves and they move into guard. I can't think of too many guys who play guard and then kick out to tackle. Generally, tackles make all the money. If you really are good enough to play tackle, you're a tackle. It's not like there's a bunch of guys who are like, you know what, I could make millions playing tackle, but I'd rather make less and play guard. No, everybody would rather play tackle. So,
well, it's not even a skill. It's not even like a money thing. It's just like it's a coaching skill thing. Like you either have the movement skills to play tackle or you don't.
Right.
It's one or the other.
I mean, it used to be in the 80s that the tackles were House Ballard and these massive monster guys, and the guards were small and quick and fast. But now, fast forward to 2025, it's the opposite. The guards are behemoths. Mekhi Becton is a guard, right? And a good one at that. But the tackles have to be really quick-footed because the edge rushers are electric in this league. So, I don't know. I think they got a real problem there because I've watched Burford false start a bunch, and Pleasance to me just looks totally overwhelmed, and the other guys aren't great. So, kind of a key spot. Offensive tackle, you kind of have to have good tackles. So,
like Krueger,
somebody pull the plug.
Krug threw himself out of his own room, out of his own stream.
I mean, you know what, fellas, is interesting. You guys are talking about like who has the most talent and so on and so forth. And football is a game that you got to be willing to compete. Guys can beat you, right? They might be better, but that compete meter in football means everything. And like Sean Payton is a guy who just does not tolerate mistakes. You know what I'm saying? He does not tolerate. You can get beat by a better defensive lineman, but you should be in the right spot. You might get pancaked because he has to go over you, but to go around you like a matador in like in Mexico or something like that, that can't happen. So when I look at the team, I want to see guys not making mental plays, like clear rushes to your quarterback. When that happens, regardless of how good the defensive player is, a mistake happened. So when I think about the 49ers last year, offensively and defensively, they made a lot of mistakes. I think having Robert Saleh from a defensive perspective certainly helps the team because he's not going to tolerate mistakes, and I think he's an excellent coach. From an offensive line perspective, Larry, you're there every day. I trust my eyes. Only thing I can do is watch the games, but, I mean, you can't get beat like that. You can't. If you get your quarterback killed. So that is the biggest problem. I don't know what they're going to do because you see it every day. And I don't know.
It's interesting. You get what you value. So if you value, teams that value defense, keep drafting defense. Teams that value offense, keep drafting offense. The Niners don't value offensive linemen. They just don't. And it's an organizational thing that goes back forever. I mean, go back to the Niners in the 80s. I mean, in the 90s. I mean, they won all those Super Bowls. The only first-round pick on that offensive line was Harris Barton. The rest of those guys were late-round guys. Jesse Sapolu, late-round guys. I mean, for every Randy Cross that was like a third-round pick, there's a bunch of guys who are late-round picks. So the only difference between that era and this era is the Niners won Super Bowls in that era. Now they still are ignoring their offensive line, except they're not winning Super Bowls, and it's not nearly as charming when you don't win Super Bowls. So, I mean, they found Pooney in last year's draft. I talked to Connor Colby after the game tonight, and, Chris Verster likes Connor Colby. So I think they're fortified a little bit at guard with some of the backups. I just think they're naked at tackle. And that's not a spot you want to be naked at in the NFL, especially when you're when your number one tackle is playing in his 18th year and is approaching his 40th birthday, it's like, you know what? You're going to have something. You have to have at least one tackle that you feel confident in, and they may have to trade for one. They may have to use some draft capital and find one. I'll say this: the Eagles have a bunch of guys. I would definitely be looking at their cut down market. Miles Hinton, Holland Pierce, all the guys, Cam Williams. They got a bunch of guys there. But the 49ers, that's the big one, because it's like I'm looking at these guys going, guess what? None of these guys are good enough, and that's a problem.
Can I say something positive? I'm going to say something positive.
No.
Here.
Oh, yes, you go ahead.
I think, not to change up the subject, but I think positively from this game, the one thing.
Oh, go ahead. You're going to say the food was good tonight? The food was good here tonight? Is that what you're going to say?
I wasn't there, so I didn't. I couldn't tell you. You got
the carne asada tacos were awesome. The carne asada tacos were terrific.
Positively,
the Joe Montana popcorn, which was boxed during Joe Montana's career, was good tonight. Go ahead, Kev.
I feel like from just this first preseason game, and yes, I get it, it's a preseason game, so maybe it means nothing. But the way the defense looked with Robert Saleh, I feel like was very apparent. Like it was a different feel, it was a different look, different play calling, different blitzes, well-timed blitzes. I feel like, defensively, I mean, even as a guy, Bradley and I made some nice plays. I think that with Robert Saleh in his first game back on the 49ers, even though it's a preseason game, I felt like there was a positive vibe shift. And I think it's funny because people always say, like, oh, yeah, these games don't matter, whatever. The safety, they panned over to the sideline and try to tell me that it doesn't matter when you see all those guys freaking out on the sideline when Chase Lucas gets a safety in the end zone. I feel like it mattered, and I felt like Robert Saleh really put on a performance tonight.
I'm with you, Kev. I think, Larry, it goes to the point that you made, or goes to the point that Frank made, Krug, that there is, I think, going to be more of an attention to detail and better scheme and fewer mistakes. Now that being said, you're going to need some of these young players that they drafted to step in and play. But I think that's a great call. The one thing I will say, not to skew it back the other way, but I made a note of this: no pressures for Alfred Collins or CJ West on 32 combined snaps. That's a little bit of a concern, because West in particular looked great at camp. Collins not as much, but he's maybe coming along in the last week a little bit. But you need some of the things on the positive side that we've seen at practice translate into the game. And I don't feel like in a number of different areas, Krug, a lot of the things we've seen at practice that have been positives really did translate into the game tonight among the guys who were out there, in fairness.
Well, it's funny. It's like, it's like technique, everybody wants young people to play, right? Like, and whether it doesn't matter what sport, right? I mean, I'm looking at it right now. There's somebody in the chat just said, call up Eldridge, there's Warrior fans that want to see, the rookies play and that kind of thing. But rookies usually get you beat, and rookies usually aren't efficient, and rookies usually aren't ready to play. And, defensive line is a technique rich position. And that's why Chris Kasarik is so coveted by the Niners, because he's such a great teacher of defensive line play. But I just think we all, and this is kind of why John Lynch, I think John Lynch is a smart man. This is why John Lynch said there's going to be some bumps in the road, because even if they hit, and they hit, there's no question in my mind, they hit on CJ West. He's going to be a really good player. I think they probably hit on Collins too, but it's going to be a process, and it's very technique rich, and you're going to have to, these guys are going to have to learn their technique. And my big concern was, like, the Niners they had Bosa, and they wanted that interior rusher who could get to the quarterback. They went after Hargrave. It didn't work out. They paid him a lot of money. And now they're kind of cleansing their D-line, and they emphasize run defenders, and that's great. But there's not a lot of interior rush, and there was not a lot of pass rush. I said it to Kev. I said it to JD. I said it to Frank. I've said it a number of times that one of my main concerns with this team. And the reason I was like, go get Shamar Stewart, go get this guy, go get that guy, go get Trey Hendrickson, because everything about the Niners defense is predicated about surrounding a big rush up front. And they don't have a big rush up front. You're going to be able to slide the line to Bosa. You got rookies across the board that are going to be asked to play lots of snaps. It's very difficult to get home on the quarterback. So it's just, these are technique. There's a lot of technique involved, and it takes time. So, that's why you see old rushers like Von Miller is still cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's all about your hand placement and your hands and feet tied together. And it's like young guys have a lot of ability and energy, but it is going to take time, and they're not necessarily going to put heat on the quarterback, rush the quarterback. That's why it's going to be like, okay, how are they going to get heat on some of these quarterbacks? They're probably going to have to blitz, and that means they're going to put their secondary in a disadvantage. It's going to be very challenging. That's why Robert Saleh back here with Gus Bradley is, you don't see Robert Saleh doing cartwheels, because he knows he's got a lot of work in front of him, a very tough job ahead. He's got to rebuild this thing on the fly with the expectations of an iconic franchise that thinks of itself as a Super Bowl contender every year. So, this is a tough job. I mean, the expectations for the Niners are very high, considering how raw they are and how young they are.
Larry, you can see it with your eyes. It's going to take time. I play defensive end, and a lot of these college guys are so much more talented than the offensive linemen. They go back to the bread and butter, which is the power rush. And then they get to the NFL, and the offensive linemen are bigger than they are. And you got to dip your shoulders. You got to be quick. You got to anticipate snap count. You got to do all of these things that takes time. And when you have a good teacher, you can pick these things up over a period of time, but it doesn't happen right away, which is why historically the 49ers have always had excellent tackling linebackers, and that second level. And that's why, like, when I look at the team, I go, they might not get home to the quarterback because, maybe they don't have the talent, but they can't miss the number of tackles that we saw last year. And even watching the game tonight, they missed a lot of tackles. That's more concerning to me.
Nick Martin, concerning missed tackles. First game as a pro. It's going to take some time. D. Winters has won the job next to Fred Warner. I'm not writing him off by any means, but that was a rough looking first game for Nick Martin. It really was
very rough. And
he played fast and he was all over the place, but he overran 5 or 6 different plays. I mean, he's
guys are bouncing off of him.
Yeah, and he didn't bring guys to the ground. I mean, he's going to have to be a whole lot better if he wants to beat out D. Winters.
I will say though, I thought CJ West, he didn't show up in the stat sheet. I thought he had a couple plays where he made an impact, but the guy that really made the impact that you've been talking up, I know for sure, Dad, is Sebastian Valdez. I thought he looked pretty good today, especially for I don't really know what prototype like defensive tackle he is, but he's freaking strong. He doesn't look huge, but he's strong and he fights through. I think he had 4 tackles and half a sack today, so pretty good first showing from him. He's
a brawler. He's just a fighter. He just wants to scrap. He wants the smoke. He wants to be extremely physical. Like he just had, to me, it's just mentality and desire as much as it is technique for him.
Well, I look at it too as like, it's no different than some of these other sports. It's like, in baseball, if you can hit the fastball, they throw you the curveball. Well, if you can hit the curveball and the fastball, now you're really something. In basketball, if you can shoot the 3 ball, they got to close out on you. But if you're Michael Jordan and you can put it on the deck and get by guys at will, and you can shoot the 3 ball, now you're freaking deadly. Well, look at this guy. This guy's had 34 reps of 225. That's a ton. That is a freaking ton. That's really strong. That would have been number 1 at the combine. He wasn't invited to the combine, but if he had been, that would have led all of the defensive tackles at the combine. So he's got unbelievable upper body strength. They call him the Hulk. He can bull rush you if, just stripe on a stripe and just take you right into the quarterback, or he's also really quick with his hands and he's really good at getting on an edge and rushing that way. So he's a pass rusher. And I think if they had a little bit better depth up front, if they could limit his snaps and just use him instead of limit his snaps to just some key third downs and pass rushing snaps, I think he could be an incredible interior rusher, but they're going to have to manage him a little bit because I thought he looked a little fatigued as the game went on. He wasn't as effective, but he still got some good, positive things done. He also had a TFL. He had a tackle for a loss. He had 4 tackles and half a sack. So somebody said, either Shanahan or somebody said in the post game, they felt like he looked the best of almost anybody on that defense.
I'll play that right now. Actually, I have it right here.
You have that?
Yeah, that's right.
Valdez, the undrafted rookie, even tackled. What is flashed?
Yeah, I'd say he flashed the most today. Just noticing him out there.
What? It's a bit of a surprise, or did you guys when he came in think there was something there?
He's been flashing a lot in practice. He's been a problem in one-on-ones, and it looked like he played the run real well today. When our line coach talks about him in practice, that means he's doing some stuff, and it was good to see it carry over to the game today.
Where did he come from? Was there somebody in the draft process that you remember banging the table and talking about Valdez? Because he has been impressive.
I don't remember exactly. We ended up recruiting those guys hard after the draft, but I know he was the guy that we targeted.
There you go.
JD and Larry, let me ask you guys a question because one of the guys that I noticed, playing defensive line was Kalia Davis. He's not in the best shape. And when I think about that, I think of like Big Baby Davis. But this dude has quick feet. I played defensive line, and there was a couple of plays in which the offensive lineman was set, ready to block him and get to his outside shoulder. And he was quicker to the outside and made some excellent high-level football plays. So is he going to make the team? And the question that I have about him is not whether or not he has a talent. Does he have the stamina and the want to? Because he clearly has really, really quick feet. He kind of reminds me of Warren Sapp with feet like that. He's not Warren Sapp, but he has talent. And I'm wondering how's this guy been looking, because he looks like he has the ability to be a rotational guy, specifically against the run. So how's he doing in practice?
Who are you referring to? Who are you at?
Kalia Davis, Krug.
Oh, Kalia Davis. Yeah. Go ahead, JD.
I think I'll keep it short and let you jump in. I think he's going to make the team.
Okay.
For sure. I think, talking to 49er people, it seems like he was primed for a breakout last year, and then he got injured. And it basically threw his whole. It was the Tennessee game, I think, last year in the preseason, and he ended up. It wrecked the whole thing. It was just a significant. I think a lot of people within the 49ers thought last year was going to be a breakout type. Hey, this guy's an NFL. He's an NFL player. He's somebody that's going to be on a 53-man roster and be able to make an impact. So I think I don't know where you have him, Larry, but as I start to pencil out, the defensive line depth chart, I think given everything we've seen in the first 3 weeks here, I do have him on the roster. What about you?
Oh, he's an incredible story. First of all, this guy used to be a middle linebacker. He just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm not even joking.
Wait, that's crazy. I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
He was a 240-pound middle linebacker when he came to college.
That's just so funny because he's massive now. He's
massive.
Absolutely massive.
He's 295 pounds now. He's got great feet. That's my guy right there, man. I've been talking to him. If you go watch my YouTube channel and you look up Kalia Davis and search Kalia Davis, you'll find a bunch of interviews that I've done with him where I'm like talking him up. I'm like, man, you're my guy, man. I've loved this guy for a long time, man. He's just a terrific pass rusher. He played at Central Florida. He wore a linebacker number because he was a linebacker. He just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He went from a stacked middle backer to a defensive end to a defensive tackle. And he still has maintained great speed. Now, I've talked to Tim Ryan about him a few times, and Tim's concern is that he's had some injuries. He's got some kind of smaller calves, and he has a hard time just staying healthy. He's not really a run defender. He's much more of a one gap penetrator pass rusher,
Right.
but he's so fast at that size that there's a lot of teams that would love to have Kalia Davis. So yeah, he is going to make the team. I hate to say this, but I mean, really all the D linemen for the most part are going to make the team. I would think just because they're so hurting for numbers, but Kalia, what do they have for veterans? They have Jordan Elliott and they have Kalia Davis and they had Kevin Givens. Well, and Evan Anderson, who was a rookie last year, and now Givens has got a pec injury and he had the pec injury last year. So they need, in an ideal world, Kalia Davis would have this year. He'd stay healthy. And JD's right. They thought he was going to bust out last year, but he couldn't stay healthy. If he could somehow put together a healthy season, I think he could be a very productive interior pass rusher that could play in a rotation. You still got to play him in a rotation. He's not an every down guy, but he could definitely give you some pass rushes from the interior.
I think there's no doubt that he makes the roster. I think the interesting thing here, because they're probably going to keep what? They're going to keep 6 defensive tackles. That's what they usually had last season. Givens is injured, but you probably carry him on the 53 and then move him to the IR, depending on how long he's out. So I would say it's kind of between like Evan Anderson, Sebastian Valdez for like the last spot. But you're keeping Anderson. So maybe you sneak in a 7th guy and then put Givens on IR. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, because Valdez is making it.
Valdez is definitely making it.
Valdez is making it at this point. So that that's interesting when you look at. I'm not sure on Givens how they would have to do it with him, because you do have 2 you can bring back, but they have to be on the 50. I think they changed the rule, Kev, I think last year to where not everybody that you intend to bring back has to be on the initial 53. I think you get 1 or 2 exempt from that. So maybe Givens could be one of the exempt from that. I need to double check that, but I think they changed that rule where it used to be you had to be on the 53 initially, and then
if you go on the IR, you're out for the entire season.
Yeah. So I think there's one you can do that with at the when everybody gets cut down here in 3 weeks at the end of August. But so that might be one little workaround with respect to that. But
they may need a significant defensive tackle. I mean, they may need to add not necessarily just a guy, but somebody who can play significantly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they added a significant piece from another franchise, because they really, I mean, they've got an awful lot of rookies, and how many snaps can Collins and West and Valdez really play? And then you got Kalia and you got Givens, who's already hurt. I mean, it's just, they really do. I think they're somewhat fortified outside, but inside they really could use some and reinforcements.
I just double checked it. JD, you're right. There's two players that can be designated to return.
Right. That don't have to be on the initial 53.
Yeah.
So Givens, I think, would be in line to be maybe one of those, and that would free up an extra roster spot when everybody gets cut down in about 3 weeks, about 2.5 weeks, I guess now.
Let's hit some of these supers, because we're almost an hour in here and we're not going to go too much longer, but I do want to get these supers in here. We've got this one from DeBig. Feliciano posted, "Tell John Lynch to call me." Should the Niners be calling a guy like Feliciano? I mean, he's a guard. He can't play tackle. Maybe they got to call Joe Staley. No, I'm just joking. Joe Staley's been out too long, but I mean, the Niners basically, I think, have to find another tackle. I don't know where. I don't think I just
swing
don't
tackle.
see that.
They need a.
Yeah.
You're saying they don't have a swing tackle. Anything happens to McKivitz or Trent, they're screwed.
I feel like you heard the truth when you asked Forster this question. You're like, "Oh, what do you think about the swing tackle comp?" And he's like, "Well, I don't really see it as a comp. It's more of a left and a right." It's like basically him saying we don't really have like a prime candidate for the swing tackle position.
Right. They have a guy they like at left and a guy they like at right.
Right. So it's like, That is not the most confident answer, but that's kind of the truth of the situation. And I get it. Like Shanahan's not going to bash on Burford after one preseason game.
Sure.
Be like, oh yeah, Burford sucked today. You know, he's not going to say that. But yeah, I think there's some legitimate concern there. You just got to pray, cross your fingers that 37-year-old, 38-year-old Trent Williams doesn't get injured this season.
One of the other things we haven't talked about, but probably is worthy of bringing up because somebody brought it up today in the presser. I think it was Kawakami asking about JJ and this contract and the calf and the whole deal. I mean, this just seems so absurd at this point. I've said a lot about it. I guess I'll just state my basic assessment, which is if he comes back and plays at some point and there's no contract adjustment and he plays on his contract, then I will take back the fact that this is about cash and say, no, they were totally right. It's all about the calf. But if he signs an extension and then comes back, then it's been about the cash. Okay. And I don't know how, I mean, yes, it could be a little bit of both, but is there anybody that actually believes that if he comes back and gets a new contract, that the 49ers could still say it's the calf? Really? I mean, that is going to be a high wire act, and they're going to need an army of yes men to line up and say, yeah, they're right. That's going to be a hard sell. I'm not saying it's that important. It's all conjecture, but if he gets a new contract, are they really going to say he got a new contract, but it was the calf? It just happened that he got a new contract. Come on. It's either the calf and he doesn't get a new contract, or it's the cash and he does get a new contract. Are we all in agreement on that? Or do we not agree?
It's always about the money. It's always
well, here's
about
the thing.
money.
I mean, Frank, you could do the deal even injured, right?
Yeah.
Like, if he's injured, and I do think there was a calf injury, but I mean, my 2 cents on it is that there's a calf injury, but if I'm Juwan Jennings in the position in which he wants a new deal, shows up out of good faith with the intent on negotiating a new deal, and then, I got a little tweak in my calf, I'm not going back on the field until I have a new deal.
It's a sign. Point. Yeah, it's a sign.
So I mean, look at Parsons. All of a sudden he's standing on the sideline for the entire preseason, and he injured his back. I mean, as they get closer to a preseason game, all of a sudden he tweaked his back. Really?
I don't really care about the truth or not the truth of the situation. Like, I get it. Like, whatever, you got to get your money, whatever. But at some point, it's going to become like a real situation where it's like, is Juwan going to be on the roster for day one, or is he going to be holding out? Like, is he going to be playing week one at this point, or is he like, is too much time going past us and the deal's not going to get done because they don't have? I don't think the receiver room's deep enough to not have Juwan Jennings. I mean, I don't think that's a crazy statement.
They need him.
Yeah.
And I think they're running on about a week or so. I think by next Monday, they have to know where they stand with
there's
everybody.
A clock. Yeah, there's a clock.
Like, to
right
me,
now.
and I'm going to set it, Frank, at next Monday, the 18th. at you need to, well, no, because you need to know what is this deal with Jennings really? Right. Is Ayuk, middle of October at the earliest? Is DeMarcus Robinson going to get suspended? I think we all agree. Yeah. But my point on it is, Frank, you got to go, depending upon how those questions are answered, I think you have to go get another wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And there has to be a date on the calendar where you look to do that. And I think that date's next Monday.
JD and Dad, tell me, you guys are at practice. Is he out? He's not at practice. I haven't seen videos of him walking around at practice, or is he there?
He's not at the facility. He's not at the facility. If he is, he's hiding out. He's not on the field. Nobody has seen him. He's not working with anybody in any capacity on the field. The other injured players are. It looks like a holdout. My question would be this: do you guys believe that the Niners got this, and whatever communication needs to happen between them and JJ is happening? Or do you believe that this is coming to a head and the Niners don't have this, and they haven't done the communication, and you're going to have a pissed off JJ, and he's expecting a contract. And I mean, is he expecting a contract that's not coming, and there's going to be a pimple that has to be popped here, and there's some pressure point? Or is there is you think the Niners got this? You know what I mean? As far as like they've done the dialogue, they've talked to the agent, they figured it out. He's going to come back, but he's just doing this because it's can't. I mean, that's the question I would throw to you guys is what do you believe that the 49ers have this thing like, under control and JJ is going to come back in a timely fashion? Or is this thing going to implode in the 11th hour and he's going to force some kind of 11th hour trade or some significant something? I mean, what do you guys think?
Krug, before Frank and Kevin, you guys go ahead, but remind everybody who Juwan Jennings' agent is before you all answer that.
It's Drew Rosenhaus.
Right.
Who's who's a shit disturber. I mean, to be
it's
honest.
The contract thing is not nothing, fellas. Like that's yeah.
Here's the thing about Juwan Jennings. He's not Chase, okay? But what he does, he's one of the few wide receivers on the Niners team, maybe the only one, who actually makes combat catches. That's his thing. He goes over the middle, he puts his body in harm's way, and he comes down with the football more times than not. Brock Purdy is a precision passer. He throws to wide windows when they're there, and he'll throw to tight windows that his boy Juwan has oftentimes made him look good. And I think he understands, you know what, dude? You're putting yourself, I'm putting myself in harm's way. Other guys are getting paid. I love this team. I love this organization. If I don't bang the door and say, what about me? Nothing's going to happen. So I think the 49ers have two buttons that they know they can push. They can be pissed off and let this thing draw out and the team not be as good, or they can meet somewhere in the middle and be like, dude, we could have handled this in a different way, but we understand your point. He should make more money as far as I'm concerned. And the onus is on when you pay your quarterback, you pay your tight end, your running back is the second or third highest paid player in the league, and Juwan is your best all-around wide receiver, and he's making $7.5 million a year. I mean, come on.
No, you're right. You're right. He is the truth. This guy, everybody else has had big reps, big this. This guy shows up. Super Bowl, he shows up. I do understand why he deserves more money. And I just don't. I'd love to know: do the Niners have they had the communication and they're going to take care of him and it's all going to work itself out? Or are we in this unknown thing where Juwan's going to have to tuck his tail between his legs in the 11th hour and come back to a contract that he doesn't want? And then we're going to have a guy who's an island unto himself, pissed about his contract all year, or what? Or this team vowed to be ruthless in negotiations. This ruthless negotiating team is going to cave to their wide receiver the way they've caved to every other player. I mean, it's like something's amiss here. Something's going to have to be either they got this and it's all going to work out smooth, or they don't got this and it's going to blow up in their face. And we don't know the answer. Let's hit some supers, and then we got one last one before we jet. Ernberg says, get Larry and Mac a room. Jeez.
You were glazing pretty hard. You were.
I just celebrated my 26th wedding anniversary, and my wife is so much cuter than Mac. And he's just not my type. What does that say? Washed up. D1T just says, hey, $1.99. Deuce, I'm in. There you go. Stingray says Martin looked like Winters when Winters was a rookie. That's a good point. I agree with that. I think that's totally true. Winters fell off tons of blocks. He was flying around, but he didn't look like he knew what he was doing. He was athletic and fast, but falling off blocks, and that's exactly what Martin was tonight. MSQ, should have kept more Banks and McGlinchey. Joking, LOL. MSQ, thoughts on Chase Lucas, Junior Bergen, and Jordan Watkins. Chase Lucas first quarter and the safety and Bo Nix, Bergen's punt return, and Watkins 50-yard play. Well, Chase Lucas, I talked to him in the locker room. He probably dropped about 9 different F-bombs in the interview. It's hilarious. The guy loves to curse, and anybody who loves to curse can hang with me. But I love, Chase Lucas, I thought of as kind of a non-factor. I thought he put himself on the map as far as making this roster as a nickel corner. He got an opportunity with Upton Stout out with a little bit of a calf strain. I think that's what Shanahan said. And that opened the door for Lucas. And, man, I asked him afterwards, you were flying around. You were playing fast. You were playing physical. And he's like, yeah, that was my mindset. So who knows? I would still say Chase Lucas is cut. As far as Junior Bergen, he had the long return. It was really set up by the if you look at the film of that, you'll see that Bergen had a gigantic lane. So it was a beautiful setup. I'm not sure if it was happenstance or luck or by design, but Bergen, I don't know if that was Brant Boyer who set that up, guys, but there was a massive lane there. The entire side of the field was wide open for Bergen, so that was nice. And then Watkins has made a lot of plays, and he made that big play for Mac. So I definitely think of the group, I think Lucas gets cut, even though he had a great night. Bergen, I think they badly want to make the team, but I'm not sure if he makes the team. Watkins, I think, is a major key cog for them going forward. I think Watkins is going to be really nice. Okay, we got a couple more here. We got this one from MSQ. Thoughts on the following statement: the Niners have invested 2/3, 1/4, 2/5, and an undrafted player on the starting O-line. Next, super more context. What? Not sure.
He means like the next message has more context. Like this one.
Got you. No. 3rd and 5th for Trent. Didn't draft Barch, but he was a 4th-round pick. Brendel was undrafted. First played with Miami. 3rd on Pooney. 5th on McKivitz. Yeah, where are the 49ers have invested a lot of high draft capital on their D-line. Solomon Thomas, 1st-round pick. Javon Kinlaw, 1st-round pick. Mikael Williams, 1st-round pick. They've invested a ton on the D-line and hardly at all on the offensive line. It might be time for them to get a blue-chip offensive lineman or two. Let's see. We got this one. Oh, wait. We got that one. We got that one. We got this one. MSQ, think about this. Why would JJ show up to camp practicing and all of a sudden hold out? Show JJ some respect and give him the benefit of the doubt. What? It's not about respect. It's not about respect. And I'm not giving anybody the benefit of anything. Why would he? Okay, I'll tell you. You want to know why? I'll tell you. I'll explain this to you. When this camp started, we all showed up on the first day. The overwhelming story on the first day is what's going on with JJ.
Will he be there?
Will he be there? He wants to be traded, or he wants a new contract, or he wants to be traded. So what's it going to be? Are they going to trade him, or what are they going to do? Is he going to hold in? Is he going to hold out? And then what happened? So they knew it was going to be this gigantic thing. So what did they tell him to do? So they told him to show up, and he showed up. And for 24 hours, everybody's like, oh, JJ's the man. He's standing on business. He's not holding out. He's not holding in. He's just going to play. And then 2 days later, he disappeared with a calf injury that nobody necessarily saw. I asked people around, like, did you see the day that he went down with the calf? No, I didn't see him go down with the calf. He just had a calf injury, and now he's nowhere to be found. He's not. I don't see him rehabbing it. I don't see him stretching it. I don't see anybody, working on it. He's not there. Shanahan's like, is it a calf injury or not? Go talk to him. Well, that's a great line, except they don't make him available. So we can't go talk to him. So, at the end of the day, it's like, I think they wanted to avoid a 3-ring media circus. And so I think they basically just said to him, hey, look, show up. It's not that he doesn't have any calf injury. I just think that if he had a contract that he was happy with, he would not be out this whole time. He'd be here. He'd be playing. I think he's got a calf injury, but I also think he's got a contract dispute. I think he's got both. That's how I see it. I don't know what you guys think, but
Agree.
I just don't
That's
really
logical, yeah.
believe. I mean, once again, I said it before. I mean, it's as plain as day, and I don't see how anybody could disagree with this. If he gets an extension, then it's the contract. If he doesn't get an extension, he comes back, then it's a calf. I mean, right? I mean, how could it be? How could we argue anything else? If he comes back and just starts playing, then he was just out with the calf injury. But if he gets a new contract, then it was about the contract.
Well, here's the other thing I wonder, and I mentioned this earlier. It's the fact that just because he's got a calf injury doesn't mean you can't negotiate a new contract and agree. Like we could have had hey, Juwan Jennings agrees to a new deal, announcement. He's got this calf. He's going to be back in a week or a couple weeks or whatever it is. My question and is, how much is he asking for? Because I think we all agree, I think in the room here, that he does deserve a raise based on performance last year and also expectation of a higher level of performance than the original contract because of all the injuries and just how reliable he's been. So he did it last year, and they're going to be asking him to do it again. So it's basically a little bit of back pay from last year or a little bit of forward pay for what you expect me to go out and do this year. And so, is it 2 and 25? Is it, what is the right, or is he asking for 18 or 20 right now? And that's part, and the Niners are like, yeah, well, we'll come up to 12, 11, 12, but he's like, no, I want 20 a year or 18 a year.
Botrack has him $19 million a year as his market value.
Where do you guys think he actually ranks? I think he's probably like the 40th best receiver. He's currently the 42nd highest paid receiver. So I think he's a little underpaid, but I don't think he's dramatically underpaid.
Let me say this though, and it's kind of a basketball analogy. And a lot of times when I listen to people talk about salaries and players, I never look at a player and think of their value for the entire league. I look at their value to that organization because regardless of how much money you make, when you line up, the expectation is you're going to outplay that guy. So it's kind of an unfair conversation. You're worth this amount of money, but I want you to go out and play this guy who's making twice as much as you're making. It's kind of like the Jonathan Kuminga and the Franz Wagner deal. Would the Warriors pay Wagner $224 million? Hell no, they wouldn't do it. But to that team, apparently he's worth that money. But Kuminga, you only worth this amount. So that's why I don't judge players against the league. To the 49ers, he's the most professional. He's the number one guy, and he makes tough catches. No one else on the team. Kittle makes tough catches. He and Kittle. That's it. Nobody else is proven.
It's really about, just like JD said, Frank, it's about what's the ask, right?
Right.
If he wants like a little bit more guaranteed money this year, but still wants to be a free agent at the end of the year, I'd probably do it. If he wanted a 2-year, extension for $20 million or 2 years for 25, like 12 and 13 back to back, I think I would do it. But if what has been reported is true, that he wants Cooper Kupp money, that he wants 3 years at north of 15, that he wants like a $45 million contract, I'd say take a hike, bro.
Right.
And you know what? I'm not paying everybody. And ruthless means you got to pick who you pay. And we all have a budget. The Niners are no different. They got to live within theirs, even though they got a lot of cap room. Let's hit a couple more, and then one last question, and we'll jet. MSQ says, if you want to see JJ rehab his injury in person, become a physical therapist. LOL, don't make this a bigger deal than what it actually is. All love, Krug. All I'm saying is I'm just trying for you guys to find out the truth. And the other guys who are hurt are rehabilitating their injuries and within plain sight of all of us. And the one guy who has a dubious injury is nowhere to be found with no timetable. I mean, that's the other thing too. What's the timetable on his calf? How's it looking? No timetable.
Come on.
I mean, you might as well just.
That's
I mean,
a dead ringer. Yeah, I mean, we have
it's a
no
dead
idea what's
indication.
going on with it. Oh, really?
No idea. No
then
idea.
I also think if we all deem the 49ers reasonable in this as we throw around potential contract numbers, then why isn't it done? And then that makes me think, and Kevin, to what you brought up about Spotrac and there is data that is readily available that projects and predicts and assesses value to players that that is like, you don't think Drew Rosenhaus is looking at those analytics and saying he's an $18-19 million a year player based on his production. That's what we want. So it's not going to be 12. It's going to be 15, 16 if we're going to come to the table, per year in terms of trying to find a common ground. I just think you have to ask yourself, why isn't it done? And to me, there's only one reason why. It's not that the Niners are quibbling over $12 million a year, 12 and 13, 2 and 25. Like, it would be done in my mind if that's what this was about.
It does make you wonder if we're just going to see everything kind of even down, come to a conclusion. We love JJ, here he is. Or are we going to get to an 11th hour and they don't have this business settled, and it's going to, come to a head, and there's going to be some monumental, significant trade? I'm not sure. I would guess that they have figured it out and they just haven't announced it yet. But I'm not sure. MSQ says, Krug, Niners being ruthless means they're getting contracts done early. Ruthless isn't being stubborn and not giving these players what they deserve. Ruthless means you're going to draw a hard line on people, and I haven't yet to see them draw a hard line on anybody. Jason PDSI, after one preseason game, I'm calling it 12-5 if healthy, 3-14 if not. Whoa. LOL. Also, props to Guy Haberman. Great job on the call today.
Health is big for Jason.
I didn't hear Guy Haberman, but I'm going to hear it when I get home, and I'm sure Guy did great. Chardal says, hi, gentlemen. I was at the 49er preseason game today, and we lost 30-9. And it was tough to see this team struggle, and they fell flat on their faces. I know, Chardal. I know it was a tough one to watch, but, preseason, you just got to remember, none of it really matters. All right.
I will say, though, the not Guy Haberman, but the people that produce the TV over at KPIX were also in their preseason form, because the first, 5 minutes of the game, there was absolutely no audio. At least on my end, there's no audio. And also, Vern Glenn was doing some pregame thing, and he was just talking. You can't hear it. I'm like, what's going on here? I don't know if that was just me or if that was.
It's preseason for everybody. All right. Last thought as we go around the room. Give me your high and your low. Give me, like, if somebody said, "Hey man, JD, I missed the game, but I know you were there. I know you saw it. Give me the best. Give me the best and the worst. Who was the great performer? Who was the guy that was just a disaster? What's your high and your low tonight?"
Yeah, I mean, I think, the Watkins big gain from Mac Jones stood out. I thought Braden Willis had a hell of a block on Benito that was probably a hold on that Patrick Taylor touchdown run. That was a singular play that kind of stood out. The Bergen punt return you mentioned. I thought Tatum Bethune, before he ended up leaving with the ankle injury, was flying around making plays. I thought Marquise Siegel was making plays up until the point he got injured. Nice game for Chase Lucas. But the big negative for me was it was just, I mean, my goodness. I mean, have we talked about Bradley tonight? Have we talked about Carter Bradley tonight?
We've hit it a few times.
He was. I said this. So you asked me for the bad, and I'm sure you guys. I mean, is he the worst quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had since 2017? I think he's the worst quarterback.
CJ Beathard.
I think Beathard's better.
Really?
I think Beathard's better than Carter Bradley.
This guy's got a better arm than CJ Beathard, but I hear you.
I think he's the worst
night.
I think he is the worst quarterback.
Josh Johnson.
Okay.
yeah.
We can have a conversation, but Josh Johnson's like my age. trying to play quarterback out of retirement for like the fourth time. I don't know. I don't mean to be too hard on him, but like that, like I don't feel like how is he better than? I don't feel like he's better than Mordecai. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you get to that third string, you're in big trouble anyway.
Well,
but
I'll double up because that was also my low. I saw Bradley, and it's like I'm buying the story that they're selling me on the Bradley story, which is Kyle Shanahan says they bring him in for a workout. He looked so good in the workout, they had to bring him on the team and cut someone else. Like they had to. He just looked that good. So I'm getting ready to watch this quarterback, thinking, oh, this guy must be incredible because he from a workout, proved you guys wrong in your quarterback depth chart. This guy must be great. And it just was not that. It wasn't that. And the decision making, the touch on an open pass he had. I mean, it's just not there. It's definitely not there. And Mordecai is a very similar quarterback, but I feel like it's just slightly better, even though Mordecai didn't look that great either today.
Frank, you got a high and a low tonight?
Yeah. My high was Stone Blanton.
You like him?
And again, because I'm sure if he took his uniform off, he would be just kind of a guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this guy is flying around the football field. And that's why I love football, because it's more about heart and determination than it is physicality. You can be like a big bruising person and make a ton of mistakes. This guy put his body on the line, and I was happy to see him make some plays. The low, I think, is Tanner Mordecai. Was it how you say
Mordecai.
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because he was in his own head. He's clearly pissed off, in my opinion. I haven't heard him talk, but he's like, "I dare you do this to me. I've been here. I should have some loyalty." But there's two ways that you can react. You can go out and play horribly, like he did, or you can say, "I'm going to show you." And I wanted to see the guy come out and say, "Stop wasting my time. I got this third string job locked up." And he didn't do that. So that was a big disappointment for me.
I'll tell you who looked like just a guy. John Weeks, the long snapper. You see him on TV. I'm like, that might be JD out there. Like this guy just looks like looks like
hey, just easy. JD's in shape.
No, I'm just saying he looks like any normal guy just walking down the street. Like he just looks like a normal dude. I mean, it's hilarious.
Morstead looked good tonight. Morstead looked like a dude that's been punting for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. Like just these high, lofty punts, and then they can't tackle on the return and still give up a big return on one of them. But I don't know. That actually did. I made a note of that. I thought Morstead looked like, wow, okay, that's what an elite punter looks like for a couple of decades.
And it's good to see Bergen. I'll say the high for me, Bergen making one nice play, because the one thing you don't want is if you're going to draft a guy, I'm assuming he's pretty much a special teamer only. He had that terrible drop as a wide receiver. I don't really see him being a wide receiver. So if he is truly a punt returner and you spent draft capital on him, like you better be a damn good punt returner, So him having that good play, like him having a positive play in the books, like I'll say that's a high for me.
Okay. So is it my turn? I'm not gonna be unoriginal. I mean, I've already sucked up to Mac Jones a little bit too much, and Ernberg I don't want Ernberg sending me any more notes. So I'm gonna go. So I won't go Mac Jones. I'm gonna go my high and low. My low, I got to be Burford. I mean, come on. Nick Bonito partied in his face in that second series. It was embarrassing. Whether one of them wasn't his fault or whatever, whether he should have had help on one of them. 3 plays in a row, the guy opposite you is kicking ass, and next thing you know, your punter's coming out. I mean, that's a bad look. So I'm going to say Burford, because I think in their heart of hearts, they're hoping Burford is going to make it as a tackle. And it's not going to happen. He's not going to make it as a tackle. So I'm bummed by it, because I really like Spencer Burford, but he's not a tackle. And Purdy's going to find out the hard way if they don't do something about it. So that's the negative. The positive, there's so many times in life that you can see that somebody's really close to their dream, really close to their goal, but they're just a little bit off. And if they just do a little bit of an adjustment, they're going to get there. Right. And that was what I saw last year from Tatum Bethune. when he played, he showed up at the football, but he's a step slow to be, he's a 5'11", 230-pound Florida State linebacker who didn't run all that well, and he's just a step slow, maybe a little bit of doesn't fit in the NFL because he's a step slow. But Fred Warner said it. I mean, I saw it in the minicamp, and I said, man, Fred, what do you think of Bethune? He just looks awesome. And he's like, it's not that he knows more. It's just that he redid his whole body, and he found a couple extra steps. And it's kind of like Brock Purdy finding a little extra arm strength. This guy found a little bit of extra foot speed. And now he's in the defense that he knows really well. He's still showing up at the football, but he's showing up at the football. He's playing faster because he knows the defense better, so that helps you be faster. But then he's also actually faster. And I think the combination of the two is going to make him a player. I think he crosses that threshold of special teamer, late round guy to this is a guy who can play from scrimmage. This is a guy who can start in the NFL. I think he found that requisite speed. I think he's really a nice player, and I think we saw it tonight. So I like Tatum Bethune. I really believe in him. I talked to him last year. He's a very humble kid, very smart, very intense, and I think he's the real deal. I think what you saw tonight, you're going to continue to see. So I love it. That is going to do it for us. We've got a couple more supers here. MSQ says, "What's the better method, rest, or no rest?" I mean, that's the question. I mean, it's the Shanahan question versus the McVay question. Would you rather sit all your guys and be rusty in September, week 1, week 2, but he'd be healthy? Or would you rather, play your guys in the preseason? The Niners I think Shanahan said he sat 19 guys plus 7 other guys that he sat. So, I mean, they sat a bunch of guys. Would you rather play your guys, build those calluses that can help you get through the season and take a chance they may get hurt? Or is it better to do the McVay, bench everybody until the preseason's over, and at least you show up week 1? You might be rusty, but you're going to show up week 1 with a full contingent of your stars. What do you think is the better plan?
I like to play my guys, but
like Shanahan does.
I think Shanahan does like to play his guys, but I think he's, this team has been so ravaged by injuries over the years. And we also know how thin they are. I mean, they are top heavy. I mean, it's just, they are going to be dependent on Purdy and McCaffrey and Trent and Kittle and Bosa and Fred Warner. And I think Lenore in the secondary, like those guys are going to all have to stay healthy and have massive years. Now, if they do that, I do think, and the young players can come along at a normal pace, I still think this could be a 10-11 win football team. I'm not, that didn't change tonight as much as there were, I think, some red flags tonight by the players who were actually on the field. But I like playing them, but I can't argue with the thought that you don't play them because they're so dependent on making sure, I think maybe more than any other team, that their big guys are available.
DeBig says Bradley is the coach's kid. That's why. And then Carl says, will Bradley get cut tomorrow or will Kyle wait? No, he's not going to get cut tomorrow. He's not going to get cut tomorrow. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pick and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California. Thanks to Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. They got brand new arcade locations opening in Capitola and Visalia malls later on this year. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for our wireless mic as well. He helped us with that. We appreciate that greatly. And that's going to do it for us. Let's go around the room. Frank hosts the In the Dungeon show, guys, and it's a great show. Frank, tell people when you're going next on In the Dungeon, and everybody, if you can, give Frank a like and subscribe over at his channel and help him build his audience. But go ahead, Frank. When do you go next? You going Sunday?
Sunday night, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. I just want to thank all the listeners out there. We got a pretty good thing going, but we definitely need more eyes and ears and likes and subscribers. So if you think you can tolerate me for 2 hours on Sunday night, then subscribe and like my show. But thank you, I appreciate it.
In the Dungeon show, Frank and I go back a long ways. JD, when do you appear on The Leader next?
Monday, 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. I'm filling in for Papa, and obviously we wish Greg Papa the best as he continues his fight. That's a daily thing that I think can be acknowledged. But I'm going to be in with Greg Silver for Greg Papa this week, and we're all kind of taking it week to week, and we hope Greg can be back and healthy and all of that very soon. But 10 to 2 Monday through Friday. This week on the Sports Leader.
Well, if any of you want to know where Greg's mind is at, obviously our thoughts and prayers go to him as he fights this battle with cancer. We're very confident that he will win and prevail. He sent me a text yesterday, and it's just so Greg, he so much doesn't want to be sick and wants to be here talking ball with us. It was simply a 4-word text. Tanner McKee, really, really good. Our 5-word text. So he's watching the Eagles a little bit. I said, yeah, Tanner McKee looks good. I told him get better, that we love him and that we're dedicating the year to him. And he said, I love you, brother. So Greg, if you're out there, we wish you nothing but good health. Take your time, get back, know that we got you on, and we're covering you on this end. And Guy Haberman's going to do what he can do. Guys like JD and I are going to rise up and do what we can do. And we're going to have a good season. And we miss you, brother. We love you, brother. You're going to be back with us. We're total belief that day is coming. And when that day comes, we'll all tilt a few back and celebrate. But get better, get well. And I speak for everybody here. We love you. The fans love you. I heard a lot of people here today at Levi's. Krug, if you see Greg, tell him we love him. We miss him. We hope he gets better. So, Greg, I want to just send all of those vibes to you, brother, and know that you got a bunch of people here at Levi's that are thinking about you, care deeply about you, and just want to see you get better. So thanks, man. Thanks for the text, and God bless. And that's going to do it for us. I'll give you guys one last word as we go around the room, and then we'll bolt. Kev, you got a final word? Go for it.
Yep. Subscribe to The Krug Show. Social medias, The Krug Show on Instagram. Turn post notifications on. Drop a rating on the podcast feed if you're listening on audio. And tune in tomorrow, 9 a.m., 9:05 a.m. for Wake Up.
Sounds good. JD, final word?
Yeah, just it's great to have football back. It's just it wasn't a great game from an aesthetic standpoint tonight to watch, but it's crazy how fast these seasons tend to come around now. And it was great to be out here at Levi's and great to be on with you guys again. I love all of you. I go way back with Frank as well, and so it's good to have football back, and it's the best. It's great to talk about and enjoy the week.
Frank, I'll give you the final word.
I love football, and I love getting together with you guys, man. It really sets up my year. So thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Hey, there's almost 20.
JD's my guy.
Oh, yeah, you guys.
We had a lot of Sunday nights. We had a lot of Sunday nights for 2 hours.
Absolutely.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us. There was nearly 2,100 people watching this right now, and it's just more and more and more people as we go. We could go for another hour, but JD and I have to drive all the way back to the creek, and that's going to take some time. So we'll call it right here. Thanks to Frank. Thanks to JD. Thanks to Kev. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our sponsors. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly